Alright, before I eat, I want to get through baggies. Because we have one more, and I'm ready for our final girl, who is second best girl? First best girl? I haven't, it's been a while since I played Becky. Thank you, baby. So I can't remember. Oh, will you grab me a fork too? I got chili cheese fries. Thank you, baby. Emmengard is, I think, my first favorite. Jessie, I'll have to discuss this with Mabel. Mabel and me will probably. Yeah. I will probably spend a lot of time discussing with going back and forth. But I'll make a list of all 6 characters. But Lavinia, we can definitely say she's done. We don't have to deal with her anymore. So let's finish up with Becky, who throughout the story is the one character who is the most seen in the original. In the original story, most of the characters, with the exception of Ermengarde, Lottie a bit, and Becky, are Jessie and Lavinia are never heard from in the book again after she goes poor. Mariette also is never heard from again in the original book. You never hear from her again. Mariette's whole story was added on. Jessie's and Lavinia's plot was added on. Lottie's was more delved into, definitely, but I think there were still a couple scenes with her in the original book. And Ermengarde was more closer to canon, except, it wasn't gay because the original book is not gay. But I think the closest relationship she had to canon in the book and in this game is Becky. So we're basically doing almost canon compliant. Still not the canon compliant because this is gay. And there's a lot of things that were added on, which is why I like this game a little better. I highly recommend, if you want a good story, to read A Little Lily Princess. It should be, if you have an Amazon Kindle, I think you can find it free. But I also highly recommend you buy this game. It is so good. It's so wonderful. It tells the story of, this adds so much to the characters. And it's gay. So if you like gay things, they made A Little Princess gayer. So just saying. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Alright. Let's do it. We're gonna do Becky. Red is a very pretty color. Sara had been out in the town buying a new book, and as she rode into the comfortable carriage back to Miss Minchin's school, her mind was filling up with stories and histories. Quite unconsciously, she descended the carriage steps with the grace of a queen, looking much grander than she might have imagined if she were the sort of girl to think in great detail about how she looked. Ooh, teal is a very pretty color. That is a really pretty color. I definitely like that. As Sara crossed the pavement, she caught sight of a dingy little figure down on the servants' area steps, a girl with soot-smudged face, peering up at her with wide eyes. Oh. Something in the eagerness and timidity of that smudgy face made Sara look back, and when she looked, she smiled, because it was her way to smile at people. The eyes went wider, as if afraid that she ought not to have been caught looking at a pupil of importance. The maid, as if that was what she was, turned and scurried back into the kitchen, vanishing as quickly as a reversed jack-in-the-box. Poor little forlorn thing. I wonder who she is. Thank you. Yeah, the art is really cute. The greatest power Sara possessed was her power of telling stories, and of making everything she talked about seem like a story, whether it was one or not. It was that power which Lavinia and certain other girls were most envious of, and at the same time most fascinated by, in spite of themselves. And it was in service of that power that so many of Miss Minchin's students had gathered in Sara's jewel box rooms, seating themselves on chairs or cushions or rugs to listen. The princess sat on the white rocks beside the lagoon, with a shining white lily in her hands, and as she turned it this way and that, she watched its reflection dance across the water below. The waters of the lagoon lay still, crystal clear, and green as glass, but the princess could only see her flowers in the reflection, and never herself. So she looked, and she looked, until at last she saw a face in the waters, not her face, but the face of a merman. Sara went on to tell the courtship between the princess and the merman prince, and the girls who listened sighed sweetly and leaned their cheeks against their hands or each other. As they listened, the door to the room swung silently open, and that same dirty figure Sara had glimpsed before crept into the room, carrying a heavy coal box. The maid was cleaner than she had been on the other day, but seemed just as frightened. She hunched by the fire, afraid even to look at the other children or appear to be listening. She put on pieces of coal cautiously with her fingers, so that she might make no disturbing noise, and she swept about the fire irons very softly. But Sara saw that she was doing her work slowly, in the hope of catching a word here and there, and realizing this, she raised her voice and spoke more clearly. The princess took her seat in the great clear bubble carriage, and a team of 6 seahorses pulled her into the ocean, their harnesses woven with pearls. Down into the sea they dove. At first, the water grew dark, and the princess was afraid, but then, far below, fluttering and rippling through the depths, there shone a light. A small drudge before the grate swept the heart once, and then swept it again, and finally forgot to play at sweeping at all. The brush hung idly from her fingers as Sara described winding grottos beneath the sea, paved with silver sand and lit by glowing sea stars. It was the choirs of mermaids singing that proved her undoing. The forgotten brush slipped from her fingers to clatter against the heart, and drew Lavinia's attention. "What? That girl has been listening!" The culprit snatched up her brush and scrambled to her feet. She grabbed the coal box and simply scuttled out of the room like a frightened insect fleeing for cover. "I knew she was listening. Why shouldn't she?" "She isn't one of us, Sara. It isn't proper to talk with servants, unless they are upper servants, like your Mariette. That's all right. I wasn't talking with her, I was telling a story. I do not know whether your papa would like you to tell stories to servant girls, but I know my papa wouldn't like me to do it." "My papa? I don't believe he would mind in the least. He knows that stories belong to everybody." "Nothing belongs to everybody. If it did, they'd all have to fight over it." Only loyal Emgard took Sara's side. "I think Sara should tell stories to whomever she wants to tell them. You wouldn't think it wrong if she told stories to Tybalt, would you?" "I should think it rather odd if she were telling stories to a cat." "Oh, please, Sara, Mama, finish the story." Sara looked at the room full of eager, upturned faces. No one wished to follow and harass the fleeing maid, but no one wished to go in her and invite her back again either. She would continue her fairy story, but she would not forget. Yay! Sara's room at Miss Minchin's seminary were not like the rooms of ordinary pupils who were meant to be satisfied with simple necessities. There were pictures and books and curious things from India. There was a sofa and the low, soft chair. Emily sat in a chair of her own, with the air of a presiding goddess, and there was always a glowing fire and a polished grate. Because the room was such a nice, bright, pretty place, the little scullery maid known as Becky liked to save it until the end of her afternoon's work. If luck was with her, she could snatch a few minutes to sit alone in the soft chair and look around, thinking about the wonderful good fortune of the child who owned such surroundings. On this afternoon, when she had sat down, the sensation of relief to her short, aching legs had been so wonderful and delightful that it seemed to soothe her whole body, and the glow of warmth and comfort from the fire had crept over her like a spell. Her hard-working young body was tired past the limits of endurance. As she looked at the red coals, a tired, slow smile stole over her smudged face. Her head nodded forward without her being aware of it, and her eyelids drooped. Thus, it was that when Sara returned to her rooms, her mind full of song and dance, she found an empty coal box on her floor, and a maid so deeply asleep that she might have been an enchanted princess. Give me 1 second, guys. My throat is a little, I think I need to blow my nose real quick, so I will be right back. Okay, I am back, and I know what you mean, Fireball. I haven't read a book, I haven't read a new book in a while. And so I've been wondering if in the future I do have some new books I want to read. Maybe it'd be a fun one to do, some, readings on here with, books. Like I could read The Last Unicorn. That way I can get more of like what I'm reading, but also like it'll help me to finish reading a book, and then you guys can also listen to a book. Like it'd be like getting to listen to a free audiobook. I don't know if that sounds like a cool idea, but that's just something that popped into my head. Coconut crabs are one of the largest crab species, being as large as a dog and with thick armor and strong claws to boot. They have humble beginnings, though. When they are young, they are just like hermit crabs, hiding in small shells to protect their weak skin. But as they grow older, they develop thick armor and ditch the snail shells for just being complete beasts. Yeah, that might be a little. I was thinking maybe some like old books. Probably. It would probably have to be like old books like these. Stuff that's in like the public domain I might be able to get away with. But anyway, I'll go back to this. Thus, it was that when Sara returned... Oh, wait, hang on. And her eyelids drooped. Thus, it was that when Sara returned to her rooms, her mind full of song and dance, she found an empty coal box on her floor, and a maid so deeply asleep that she might have been an enchanted princess. Oh, that poor thing! Becky looked nothing like an illustration of Sleeping Beauty. Her gown was stained, her face smeared with soot, and her poor little kerchief hung half off her head. Even her face, beneath the dirt, was a plain one. She looked only like an ugly, stunted, worn-out little scullery drudge. But Sara was not cross to find such a figure in her own favorite chair. The ill-used heroine of the story. Now at last I can talk to her, when she wakes. I fucking love Sara. Sara's one of my favorite protagonists in a story. She crept closer to the chair, walking quietly on raised feet, and stood there looking at her. I wish she'd waken herself. I don't wish to waken her, but Miss Minchin will be cross if she finds out. I'll just wait a few minutes. She took a seat on the edge of the table and sat swinging her slim legs. If Miss Minchin came looking for Becky, she was sure to be scolded. But she is so tired. So tired. At that moment, Sara's indecision was interrupted by a popping sound from the fire. A piece of flaming coal had broken and shifted. Becky did not realize at first that she had fallen asleep. She only remembered sitting down for a moment and the gentle glow, and now here she found herself staring in wide alarm at the wonderful pupil who sat perched quite near her like a fairy. Becky sprang to her feet, clutching at her kerchief to set it right. Oh, miss, I ask your pardon, miss. Oh, I do, miss. Sara put her dainty feet on the ground and stood. Don't be frightened. It doesn't matter the least bit. I didn't go to do it, miss. It was the warm fire, and me being so tired. It weren't impertinence. Sara broke into a friendly little laugh. You were tired. You could not help it. You are not really awake yet. Ain't you angry, miss? Ain't you gonna tell the missus? No, of course I'm not. I know I shouldn't have touched your things, miss. Sara shook her head. Why, we are just the same. I'm only a little girl like you. It's just an accident that I am not you, and you are not me. An accident, miss? Have you done your work? Dare you stay here a few minutes? Here, miss? Me? If your bedrooms are finished, perhaps you might stay a little while? I thought perhaps you might like a piece of cake. Cake? Me? Yes, of course. The next 10 minutes seemed to Becky like sort of a fever dream. The show pupil opened a cupboard and produced a thick slice of cake, all for her, and actually seemed enthusiastic about watching Becky eat it. In between bites, Sara managed to get answers to a few questions. A few weeks ago, you were watching me through the area railing, weren't you? Yes, miss, once I saw a princess. I was standing in the street with a crowd outside Covent Garden, watching the swells going to the opera, and there was one everyone stared at most. They says to each other, that's the princess. She was a growed-up young lady, but she was pink and lace all over, and flowers and all, as pretty as anything. That's what you look like, miss, that day. You look like her. I've often thought that I should like to be a princess. I wonder what it feels like. I believe I will begin pretending I am one. Ain't you all ready? From elsewhere in the school, there was the sound of a door slamming. Oh, miss, I've got to go. Come back someday when you have more time, and I can finish that story you were listening to. I'm always putting new bits to it in my head. Oh, miss, if you do that, I won't mind how heavy the coal boxes was, or what cook done to me, if I might have to think of... She bobbed an awkward little curtsy, grabbing for her kerchief when it slipped again, and then hurried from the room. Heck yeah. Okay, and now we have finally unlocked Becky. And we're done with Lavinia's route. So now, we can focus on Becky. Sara came upon the little maid hard at work in the school corridors. Becky? Oh, miss! So startled was she at being addressed that she fumbled the bucket of sooty brushes she carried, nearly dropping them. Sara rushed forward to grab the handle and prevent a spill. Miss, you oughtn't. You'll muck up your nice dress, you will. It's all right. I'm being careful. Please, miss, you shouldn't. It's not right. Well, you are the expert, of course, so I will leave things in your hands. Expert? Aren't you? I'm sure you're good at your work. Never heard it put that way, miss. Mariette says that everyone below stairs takes advantage of you and asks you to do too many things. They ought to thank you and tell you that you are doing a good job. Becky looked so baffled at the idea of being thanked for her labors that Sara could not let the matter rest. Is Miss Minchin very unkind to you? Shouldn't say nothing about the missus, miss. Sara looked up and down the hall, listening. No one is anywhere about. Oh. Come into my rooms, if you feel safer that way. Oh, I shouldn't, miss. It's my first job, miss. First job in a real house like. It's hard work, but at night I've got my own room and my own bed. Never had any of that at the workhouse, miss. You didn't have a bed? Home's full of beds, miss, but more full of girls. Everybody squeezes. It's good in the winter, ain't it? Keeps you warm. Sara did not lack for imagination, but she simply did not have the frame of reference to picture a workhouse dormitory with its rows of narrow beds crammed together. The smallest sleeping quarters she had ever seen were those on board the ship which brought Sara and her papa to England. Sometimes it gets real spooky up top with the wind, but it's still my room, so it's not so bad. If the missus hadn't given me this job, I don't know what I'd do. She's so grateful for so little. Listen, are you done with your chores for a while? Would you like to come and have cake again? Oh, miss, I like that, but I've got these other rooms still to do, and the curtains, and... She looked absolutely crestfallen at the idea of abandoning the cake, but still determined not to give up on her duties. Such unrewarded diligence. Miss Minchin does not deserve her. It's all right, I promise. I will keep the cake and wait for you. You can come by whenever you are finished for the day. Even if it's evening, miss? There's a whole heap. I'm cooked sour today. If you work so late, then you need a treat even more, don't you? I'll stop getting in your way now. I don't want you to get in trouble for talking to me. I will see you later, when you can. I promise. Thank you, miss. Yay! Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry you have a headache. Make sure you rest if you can. Maybe listen to some light music. I don't know if my voice is a little too, like, pounding in your head, but I'm sorry. If you have any medicine, like, ibuprofen or Advil or anything to help with your headache, you should take it. It'll feel good. That's what I did. I took some medicine earlier, so it would help. Okay. Becky leaned back in the soft, comfortable chair and listened as Sara spun a story for her. This tale involved a king who had 2 daughters but no sons, and who was under a terrible curse that only a hero who traveled the richest road could lift. Each daughter swore to do her best to save her father, and thus they each outfitted themselves and went on their separate journeys. The elder had hair of gold, and she wore bright silver armor and carried a thin-bladed sword with a hilt like a bell. The younger had hair of midnight and wore a dress of soft, flowing blue. She carried no weapons other than her words and her kind heart. Becky was so entranced by Sara's voice that she forgot for minutes at a time to keep eating the slice of cake she had been handed. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the weather can definitely cause problems. Well, I hope you get nice and warm and bundled up. The antlered princess chose the fiercest horse in the royal stables and galloped along the richest road at great speed until she came to a metal bridge over the river. When the horse's hoofs pounded onto the metal, they made such a clang that the horse was startled, and the eldest daughter was flung from her saddle. The younger princess did not want to tire her favorite pony by making him carry her, so she walked down the witch's road holding his reins. They went much more slowly, but at last they reached the bridge. Her gentle pony didn't want to touch the metal bridge, but he trusted the youngest daughter, and she soothed and petted him, and together they crossed the river. As Sara's story continued, the kind younger daughter encountered a monster which terrified her and required her bolder sister's approach to chase it away. Eventually, the two princesses learned to work together and progressed to the end of the road, and there, inside the twisted brambles of the witch's hut, they found their father. "Was the curse broken?" "I was cursed," he said, "because I had no sons to rule after me. I built this road myself as a test, but now the two of you have learned your strength, and I know that you can rule together." "Oh." Becky folded her hands under her chin and let out a fond sigh. "Could two princesses really rule a kingdom, miss?" "I don't see why not. Our queen was a princess once." "Guess it's so." All of a sudden she sat bolt right up in the chair. "Blimey, the time! Sorry, miss." "It's all right. I suppose you ought to go." Becky looked dolefully at the thick slice of cake, still half uneaten, that sat before her. Can I take it with me, miss? I've got my pocket here, you see." Tied beneath Becky's apron was a stained old cloth pouch, the surviving half of a discarded pair of pockets from some lady's wardrobe. Sara did not imagine that any cake held in such a pocket would be pleasant to eat afterwards, but scolded herself that it was not her decision to make. "Of course you can." "Thank ye, miss." She happily tipped the plate into her pocket. "I can eat this later up in the attic, miss. I've got to eat it careful, 'cause if I leave crumbs, the rats will come out to get 'em." "Rats? Are there rats there?" "Lots of 'em, miss. There mostly is rats in mice and attics. You get used to the noise they make scuttling about. I got so I don't mind 'em so long as they don't run over my pillow." "Ugh! You can get used to anything after a bit. You have to, miss, if you're born like I was. I'd rather have rats than cockroaches." "Oh, so would I. I think I might manage to make friends with a rat in time, but I don't believe I should like to make friends with a cockroach." "Friends?" "Well, there are creatures just like cats and dogs. They could be friendly. I think Becky needs that food more than the rats do, but I wonder if the rats are hungry too. Perhaps if there are any crumbs in your pocket, you should shake it out somewhere away from your bed, so that the rats come out to eat. They won't bother you." "That's clever, miss. Perhaps I'll try that." Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, being sick. When you're a kid, being sick is kind of nice, because it means you don't have to go to school. But I found now as an adult, getting sick is just the worst, because now you're just like, everything just hurts and is sore. And granted, being sick as a kid also sucked, but it always felt like, oh, at least I can get out. Oh, I usually have rat facts. That's if Mabel's not doing a crab fact. But I'm not feeling any facts right now, if that's okay. I wanted to kind of finish up this story because I'm hungry, and my food's gonna be cooling for a bit if I don't. So I wanted to get to the end of Act 1 very quickly, so that I could send you guys off to a new person, and I could end there. But definitely next time I will have more rat facts. Sara picked up her doll and smiled at her. "You are looking a trifle tired today, Emily. You must have been very busy while I was out of the room." She gave the doll's curls a careful brushing, then tucked her into her own little cradle bed, arranging her hands to lie over the fabric cover. "I think you'll feel better after a nap. I am hoping that Becky will come to visit today, but we'll try to be quiet so that we don't disturb you." With the air of an expectant hostess, Sara moved around the room, running her hands over shelves and turning cushions to be just so. The room was already perfectly neat, of course. Sara was not an untidy child by nature, and anything she might have disarranged since Becky's last visit would have been set straight by Mariette. Still, it seemed the sort of thing a princess ought to do. "Yeah, it would be good to get some sleep." I know I need to eat, and then I need to get some sleep so that I can be ready for work tomorrow. Looking your best shows that you care about your visitors." Having reassured herself that everything was just so, she settled in at her desk with a sheet of sums to work for the classroom. £2, 12 shillings, 8 1/4 pence, plus £1, 14 shillings, 5 1/4 pence. That's 2 farthings, 8 5 pence makes 1 shilling and 1 penny. Addition and subtraction were simple tasks, but the complications of British currency were such that they needed to be practiced over and over again to be certain one did not forget. Becky's arrival was even more delightful when it meant putting those repetitive worksheets away. "Becky! Come in, please sit down." She lowered her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Emily is resting today, so we must be calm and quiet for her sake." "That's all right, miss. I'm tired today, too. I made a wonderful discovery to share with you. I was out at the shops looking in windows for things that might fit neatly into your pocket and not fall into crumbs. Look!" With a proud smile, she produced a tray of 3 little meat pies, sealed up tight with glazed crust. Becky's eyes quite sparkled. "Oh, miss, them will be nice and filling. It's fillingness that's best. Sponge cake's an heavenly thing, but it melts away like, if you understand, miss. These'll just stay in your stomach." "I don't believe it would be a good thing if a pie stayed in your stomach for always." That line of thinking led somewhere indecent, indelicate, so she quickly abandoned it. "I do hope they will be satisfying. I wish you had told me before about the cake. I could have brought something else before this. Beef sandwiches, perhaps, or rolls and bologna sausages. All that for me, miss." "Of course, why not? I like to share food with you. I like to see you enjoy yourself. None of the girls here ever enjoy cook's meals half as much. But I might never have guessed you wanted something other than cake. Why didn't you tell me?" Oh, please, miss. No one's ever been so kind to me before. Not even my own mum. How could I ask you for more? How could I?" "Were you afraid that if you asked me for something, and I said no, that I would be angry with you?" "Yes. No, miss, but you done so many nice things for me, and if still I weren't happy, I'd be right sour on me, you see. You wouldn't want somebody sour." "Oh, Becky, you are never sour, not one bit. But we are friends, you and I." "Friends, miss?" "Of course we are, and a friend isn't upset when a friend asks her for something, even if she might have to say no. I could have done this for you sooner if you hadn't kept it a secret what you wanted. Let's promise never to keep secrets from each other ever again." She held out her hand to seal the pact. Becky started to reach for it, then hesitated. "Never at all, miss. What if there are some secrets that are nice, like surprises?" "Oh, I didn't think of that." "You are very clever." Becky smiled in nervous agreement. "I will make a better promise then. Let's promise to always trust each other if we need help. All right?" "All right." They clasped hands. The scullery maid's palm was rough and calloused, but her fingers curled sweetly around Sara's. "Good. Yeah, no, I want to finish this for everyone. It'll be nice. I'm almost done." We're almost there. So we can go ahead and finish this. Miss! Oh! Sara was startled when Becky caught her arm in the hallway one day. The scullery maid was usually too timid to be so insistent. If Sara did not call out to her, Becky would more often pass by unnoticed. "What is it, Becky?" "Oh, miss, I heard. Is it your birthday soon, miss?" "Yes, it's next week." "That's what I thought I heard, miss, but I wasn't sure. When is your birthday, Becky?" "Don't know, miss. Never had one." "But you must have a birthday. Everyone does. You were born." I don't rightly remember that part, miss." "But if you don't know when you were born, how old are you?" "Not so sure of that either, miss. The workhouse reckoned I were past 14 and old enough for service." So yeah, like she's 14, 15 maybe? So I'm assuming Sara's around the same age. And past 14 and old enough for service. She doesn't look over 14. Mariette said she thought Becky was older than she appeared. Poor Becky, to have never had a birthday. "Well then, if you have no birthday of your own, you shall share in mine." "Miss?" "Miss Minchin asked if there was anything I wanted for my party. I wanted my papa to be there, but she can't fix that for me. But she can let you come to my party, and I'm sure she will, if I ask her to." "Oh, miss, are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. Every little girl deserves birthday presents. Maybe you're older or maybe you're not, but you're still a little girl." Becky made a small noise, like a laugh half swallowed, and tucked away. "Oh, I've got to scrap her now, miss, but I hope you're right." "Yay! Becky's last event. We did it. When Sara went into her sitting room in the afternoon, she found on the table a small, dumpy package, tied up in a piece of brown paper. A birthday present! And I think I know whom it came from. She unwrapped the paper quite tenderly. Inside, there was a square pincushion, made out of not quite clean red flannel. Black pins had been stuck carefully into the surface to form the words, "Many happy returns." The sight, and the thought of the pains Becky must have taken to put it all together, gave Sara a warm feeling in her heart. I like it so much that it makes me feel sorrowful. But the next moment she was mystified. On the other side of the pincushion was secured a card, bearing in neat letters the name Miss Maria Minchin. Sara turned the card over in her hands in case some message were written on the underside, but there was nothing. Miss Minchin? How can it be? And just at that very moment she heard the door being cautiously pushed open. Becky peeped around the door, then grinned and shuffled forward, pulling at her fingers. "Do you like it, Miss Sara? Do you?" "Like it? You darling, you made this all yourself." Becky gave a hysterical but joyful sniff, and her eyes looked quite moist with delight. "Can't do fancy stitching like Mariette, and it ain't nothing but flannel, and the flannel ain't new. But I wanted to get you something, so I worked on it at nights. I knew you could pretend it was satin with diamond pins in it. I tried to, when I was making it. Oh yes, a blue satin cushion, and pink diamonds, the rarest and most precious of all. Something Becky made with her own hands in her spare time, when she has so little, is already more precious than diamonds. But why does it have Miss Minchin's card on it? It weren't wrong of me to pick it up out of the dustbin, was it? Miss Minchin had thrown it away. I hadn't got a card of my own, and I knew it wouldn't be proper present if I didn't pin a card on it, so I pinned Miss Minchin's." Sara flew at her and hugged her. She could not have told herself or anyone else why there was a lump in her throat. "Oh, Becky, I love you. Becky, I do. Oh, miss, thank you, miss, kindly, but it ain't good enough for that. The flannel wasn't new." Sara laughed into Becky's neck, a queer little laugh that sounded almost as much like tears as it did like joy. "You are far too sweet." She pulled back, looking into Becky's dear face. I wish I were the fairy godmother who could bring you a magical dress and turn you into the princess you deserve to be." "Me?" "Of course. You are the kind and ill-treated heroine who works hard every day without any thanks. In any proper story, you ought to turn out to be the lost daughter of a king." "Don't think my mom's ever seen a king, miss. It doesn't have to be that way. Fairy tale baby might have sent down the river on a tiny boat to safety, or discovered, curled up inside a walnut shell. Don't think I'd ever fit in a walnut shell, either." Sara giggled. "Well, however you were born, and wherever you came from, I'm very glad that you're here now, with me." Alright, let's get to the "everything is fine, everyone is having a good party. It's Sara's birthday. Nothing bad will happen. Very good day. Everything is fine. Everything is wonderful. Look at how happy they are. Look at these happy girls. Everything is great. Oh no, what is happening? Music has changed. Things are bad. Oh no, her father is dead. Uh-oh, goodbye." The hard bed would never be a comfortable place to sleep, but after struggling through her unaccustomed labors day after day, Sara could not help but collapse into exhaustion. Sometimes, when she woke, she would not at first remember where she was or what had happened. It would be as if she had been snatched from her old room and trapped in a cold gray prison. Memory, when it resurfaced, brought no relief. The prison was the world. There was no escape. That morning, Sara was aroused from her slumber by the squeak of hinges. Someone was entering her room. "Becky?" "It's all right, miss. Come to help you get ready, that's all. You've been such a rich young lady. You've been waited on hand and foot all your life. And what would you do now, without no maid? Them dresses of yours is meant for a maid to button. Now you're poor. You've got only me to wait on you. It won't take a minute. I can do it right quick." "But you shouldn't. I'm not any different from you." "Course you're different, miss. You were brought up different. Not like this. And weren't never meant to be like this for you. The missus could have broke it to you more gentle. She's like one of the wicked stepmothers in the stories. Yeah, it's a lot like Cinderella, which is exactly how I feel about this. Like a very updated, very, well, very... I feel like this is Cinderella, but we get a lot more, if that makes sense. It wouldn't change anything. I would still be a pauper, and my papa would still be dead. Let me help get you dressed, miss. She already has so much to do. She shouldn't be wasting her time pampering me. I'm not any better than she is. Despite that twinge of guilt, Sara lacked the energy to protest further. Becky was right. It was much easier to get dressed when she let someone else help her. There, you see? That's much better. Sara essayed a smile as thanks, but her face struggled to find a happy expression. Don't you worry about it, miss. You helped me lots of times. You gave me food and told me stories and made it all seem so much nicer. It's my turn now, and in it, I can't get you cakes or books, but I can do your room and your dress and anything else you need. I know all you need to know about attics and washing and all kinds of things. I'll help, I will. My loyal handmaid. Oh, Becky, I don't deserve you. Sara's eyes gleamed with unshed tears, but she did not speak. Becky patted her shoulder, more sure of herself now that she had asserted her expertise in scullery maid life. Don't you worry if you don't feel much like talking right now. I know sometimes the heart in trouble should be left alone. But if you do need me, I'll be right next door. I'm sorry we can't talk much while we're working, but the missus have boxed our ears for loitering. So don't mind me, miss, if I don't say nothing polite during the day. Someone'd be down on us if I did. I always mean please and thank you and beg pardon, but I dasn't to take time to say it. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Insane Engineer. Welcome in. I hope you've been good. How long have you been watching for? I hope you've been enjoying it. I really love reading this and playing this game. Fuck up, Miss Minchin. I always say please and thank you and beg pardon, but I didn't to take time to say it. All Sara could do was nod. I really want to make some GIFs of some characters. Either GIFs or emojis for my chat, because this game is so special to me. Oh, Becky, if not for you, I think my heart would break for loneliness. Becky is pure. Becky's good. This game is good. For all the for the two slightly for the one route and the one slightly bad route, there's 4 routes that are really good. 4.5. 4.5? Who would you say the other half is? Mariette? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. 1 route and 1 bad route. So 4, but and a half. Mariette's not bad. I thought it was a lot worse before I played it. But again, I do see some of the problems. Oh. Alright, we're doing Becky. A quiet tap at the door caught Sara's attention. Do you need anything, miss? Oh, Becky, please come in. Do you want me to fluff your pillow, miss? Don't know if there's enough left of it to fluff, but I can give it a good punch. No, it's fine. What I want most of all is your company. That's easy to give. Becky took a seat on the attic floor, not minding the dirt, and gazed up at Sara. You look a bit better, miss. Do I? Not like you used to, but better than you were the other week. You're talking more again. I like to hear you talk. Oh. Now that you say that, I don't know what to say. I don't think I have any stories in my mind anymore. That's alright. It takes time, it does. When my pa died and we had to go to the workhouse, I was sad for a long time. What? Your father? I never knew anything about Becky's father, alive or dead. I never thought to ask. I'm sorry, I did not know. Becky shrugged carelessly. It were a long time ago, miss. He were good and big and strong and never mean, not like some. Did his best to take care of us till he couldn't. That's about all I remember. What did he do? Worked down at the docks, hard work. My mum couldn't cope without him, so we lost our room, and it was off to the steel for us. The steel? The workhouse, miss. That's what folks call it sometimes. Oh, must be from the Bastille. She explained to a wide-eyed Becky about the French prisons trapped in the dark for years, while their tangled beards grew around them. "Gaw, I'm glad I can't grow a beard. I never knew it were anything to do with the French, miss. No one said. If I still had my books, I could show you more about the history of what happened there." She sighed faintly. "I miss so many things that there seems no point in dwelling on all of them. I miss my rooms and my books. I miss my papa most of all, but I do miss classes. I loved learning. I had so much left still to learn. I wasn't finished yet. I don't understand everything the way I'm supposed to. If I can't go to classes anymore, I'm afraid I'll forget everything, and my mind will be empty. Do you know what I mean?" "Not really, miss. Guess I never knew anything much to forget." "Oh, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. You are clever. I'm sure you could learn just as much as anyone if you were taught properly." "They taught us bits in the workhouse, miss. We were meant to learn good habits and Christian virtues and writing and arithmetic. Only not much of those last two, 'cause they got in the way of the first." Sara recalled the message on the pincushion, which Becky had made for her so lovingly. That's right. Becky is literate, even if her spelling is worse than Lottie's. "Were your teachers very helpful and encouraging?" Becky laughed. "If you think the missus is harsh, miss, you ought to see what the masters of the steel did to boys who asked questions." "But you can't learn if you don't ask questions. You learn what they want you to learn, that's all. I reckon it would be different if you were a teacher, miss." Sara's eyes lit with the idea. "Becky, that's it. I can teach you the things I know, and then I won't forget them. That is, if you're interested." "I don't know if I could do it, miss, but I can try." "I shall have to think of what would make a good lesson." "Right." She stood up and brushed off her skirt. "I've got to go and sleep now, miss, but I'm glad to see you're feeling better." She bobbed slightly, then hurried out of the room. Pardon me for my bad Cockney accent. Attempts are being made. I also hope that my Becky's voice sounds a little better and softer and nicer than Cook's voice. And same with the Miss Minchin and Lavinia. Like, Lavinia was a bitch, but I try to emphasize that haughtiness. But I hope it was more distinct between her and Miss Minchin. "Yeah, bit of whale wagging down at the old chippy, eh? Found dwarven crafts straight from the nurse." Am I?" Sara lay back on her bed and contemplated her feelings. The darkness was not gone, not even most gone, but perhaps with a good friend at her side, it might begin to lift. "Oh, I want to eat so bad, but Becky's route!" Just like Sara, I can eat after I'm done with my work. Yay. It was unusual for Sara and Becky both to be sent out of Miss Minchin's seminary at the same time, much less on the same errand. After all, with neither girl in the house, Cook would not have easy access to anyone to fetch and carry for her, and might be forced to bestir herself from the kitchen. However, there were times when the items needed were so bulky that even Miss Minchin could not expect Sara to carry them alone. In that case, rather than spend extra pennies for delivery, Sara and Becky could be dispatched together. "Mind your feet, miss. There's a mucky bit there." "It's fine. I do this all the time." "You shouldn't ought to, miss. You oughtn't to be riding high in one of them carriages." "Oh, well, you can't feel the breeze so much in a carriage, and sometimes they are very jolting. And you cannot see the sights nearly so well when you are boxed in." Becky looked dubiously up at the drab buildings' fronts they were passing. "What sights?" "Oh, you never know unless you look. There might be something nice in a shop window. You can't read the covers of the books in the shops if you're going past in a carriage. Or you might find a flower growing all unexpected in a crack between buildings, or a pretty button that someone has lost." In truth, Sara often found these errands disheartening, but it was her nature to make the best of things. In the face of Becky's skepticism, she relied even more upon her imagination. Just then, a carriage rattled past them, its wheels striking a bump in the road and sending pebbles flying onto the pavement. "Oh! Are you hurt, miss? Did one of them hit you?" "No, I'm fine, but I thought I saw." She bent low and picked up the largest pebble. "Look, Becky! Look!" What is that?" "It's a fossil." She turned the stone over in her hands. On most sides, it was only smooth, gray stone, but one particular angle revealed the ghostly white pattern of a shell. "Just think, Becky. Hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of years ago, there was a living creature there." "Millions?" "Well, I don't know. I don't know how you can tell how old a fossil is. I suppose the scientists at the museum might know. The dinosaur they had was millions of years old. I'm sure of that." What?" Oh dear, I don't suppose Becky's teachers at the workhouse would have told her anything about the latest scientific discoveries. "Dinosaur. It means fearfully great lizard. Bigger than horses. The biggest ones are even bigger than houses." "Like dragons?" "Yes, a lot like dragons, but they died a long, long time ago. All that we have left of them is their bones and fossils, just like this pebble." Even though the pebble quite clearly did not contain a dragon bone, Becky stared at it with just as much awe. "All that, and rocks and stuff?" Sara smiled wistfully. "I wish I could take you to the museum and show you everything that we saw. I wish I could go back. I had so much left to learn. But you see, there are still wonderful things in our lives, full of magic and adventure. This pebble looks small and unimportant, but it holds secrets of the past. Even the small and overlooked creatures of the world are still precious." Becky grinned at her. "Well, miss, I reckon you're more precious than I am, but won't neither of us be worth much if Cook thinks we've been dawdling." Sara put the pebble back on the ground, where it might be discovered by some other curious child. "You're right. We had better hurry and get back to the Bastille." "The Stile, miss? Isn't it just like a prison?" "I am the prisoner of conscience, locked away because I would not serve an evil regime. I have been locked up for years and years and years, and everybody has forgotten about me. Miss Minchin is the wicked jailer, who stalks up and down the halls at night with a great metal ring of keys on her belt, clanking and clanging, just to taunt us. And you, Becky, you are the prisoner in the next cell, who I can hear through the walls but never see." "Why would I be in prison?" "Oh, it was probably mistaken identity. Someone else stole a loaf of bread because they were hungry, and the Gandermans thought it was you, and they wouldn't listen to your story, so they locked you up." Becky nodded. It seemed perfectly plausible from her experience of the world. "We must invent a secret code, a way that we can communicate with each other without our jailer overhearing us. That way, even when we are locked in our cells, we are never alone." "Oh, miss." "What is it?" Only that it ain't right for me to be glad you're here, when you're only here 'cause all the bad things that happened to you." "I'm sorry." "Oh, Becky, you don't have to be sorry. I know you must have been very lonely in that attic by yourself sometimes. If I didn't have you, I don't know how I could survive. Is it wrong for me to be glad that you are here with me, when I should be wishing that you had a happy life somewhere else? I don't think I'd know how to be happy, miss, if I weren't with you." Sara laughed. "How light you make me feel, and how light on our feet we had better be if we don't want Cook to scold us." "That's gay." "Yay!" The streets of London would never be perfectly clean, no matter how many brushes the street sweepers wielded. Rain could not wash the mud and refuse away. It only blended them together, helping them to spread their unappetizing clutches over the city's stones. And if the streets were never clean, then it stood to reason that an entrance hall was very rarely clean either. Today, it was Sara's task to scrub away what had been tracked inside. If this dirt could talk, what stories might it have to tell? How many boots has it traveled under? Perhaps mud doesn't like being indoors. If it can make it all the way back to the fields and forests, then it can grow again, with the grass and the trees. Oh, humble dirt, if I could, I would carry you to freedom. Sara was jolted out of her pleasant daydreams by an all too familiar sound, Miss Minchin's voice, raised in anger. But it was not Sara that she was scolding. Her voice appeared to be coming from the nearby classroom. Wasn't Becky in there? She crept closer to listen. "As well as stupid. Is it expecting too much from a clod to ask that you watch where you put your feet?" Yes, Mum. No, Mum." "Don't you get smart with me, you wretch! That cat is worth twice what you are." Was it Becky who stepped on Tybalt earlier? I did think I heard him screech. I'm sure she didn't mean to. Tybalt loves to curl up in the most inconvenient places. I'm always having to chase him off the stairs so no one trips over him. Unlike you lazy girls, Tybalt always gets his job done. He sleeps half the time. We work all day and into the night. I'm sorry, Mum. I'll be more careful. You had better be. There are dozens of girls in the workhouse who could fill your positions in a heartbeat. Remember, Tybalt holds a pedigree from the National Cat Club. He is of the highest pussy. In light of your carelessness, I am docking your wages for the week. If you do not improve, it will go worse for you. Wages? Her own servitude, of course, came with recompense. Miss Minchin had emphasized repeatedly that Sara was in her debt. Anything she might earn was immediately deducted and applied to that balance. But Becky was an ordinary girl, hired from the workhouse by traditional channels. If Sara had ever considered the matter, it might have been obvious that she must receive some sort of wages. Money had never been of great interest to Sara. First, she had so much that she never had to count the cost of anything, and then she had nothing at all, and all costs were equally out of reach. Becky's wages, though, created something of a mystery. If she was being paid, why did she seem as penniless as Sara? See that you do! With a start, Sara realized that Miss Minchin had concluded her tirade and was moving towards the door. She quickly hurried back to her work. Questions would have to wait for the safety of a dark attic. That evening, Sara made her way up the stairs to the attic, checking carefully for any suspiciously furry lump that might attempt to block her path. Inside her room, she could not resist lying back on the hard mattress for just a few moments to take the weight off her feet. I mustn't sleep. Not yet. If I fall asleep now, I will forget. My head feels so heavy. My arms are trembling from too much work. I daren't carry a candle like this. It would shake right out of my grasp. I must not sleep yet. Warily, she struggled back to her feet and stumbled over to the wall that divided her half of the attic from Becky's. She knocked a careful pattern of 4 knocks, a message to her fellow prisoner. Come to me through the secret passage. I have something to communicate. 5 quick knocks answered her. She is coming. Almost immediately, the door of the attic opened, and Becky appeared. Is everything all right, miss? Oh, of course, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to worry you. I only wanted to talk. Actually, I wanted to ask you about something. Is it true that Miss Minchin pays you wages? Yes, miss. Well, when she wants to, and most of the time she don't. I never knew you had any money. Ain't no but a half shilling a week, miss, and that only if it's paid. Seems every other week the missus finds some reason I don't deserve it. 6pence. To Miss Minchin that coin is nothing. Nothing at all. She takes it away just to taunt Becky? But she does pay you sometimes, right? What do you do with it? Oh, well, it used to be I saved up my wages to take to my mum at the workhouse. She was still there, you see, and I thought it might help. Only, after I brung it to her, when I've gone back, I can't find her no more. She ain't there. Maybe she found a job? Could be, miss, or could be she took a ride out of the city, looking for some other life, now that she knew I had a place and didn't need her. But, well, she were always fond of gin. Sara shook her head. Every time I think that I understand the world and the people in it, I realize again how little I really know. It's all accidents and tragedies all over. Good things happened to me by accident when I was born, and then sad things came later, but all those same sad things happened to you too, without even the good ones first. Becky lost her father and her mother both. She had to live in a workhouse. She never had teachers who were kind to her. It isn't right. Why can't she be happy? Why can't everyone be happy? Becky did not seem to notice Sara's outrage. Some good things did happen to me, miss. I never had a friend like you before. And I've liked having you tell me things, even if I'm not clever enough to remember any from the other. You are. You're just not used to it. It's not your fault England had a lot of kings named Henry. If you say so, miss. We must have another lesson, but not tonight. I am already too tired. Still, the thought would not leave her. If you don't take away your wages to the workhouse anymore, what do you do with them? Do you buy yourself food? or save for new shoes? It was a pleasant thought to imagine poor, downtrodden Becky sneaking away to buy a ticket for the music hall and an evening's light entertainment. But when would she find the time? Oh no, I couldn't. I don't. If I bought a pie and ate it, then the next day I wouldn't have no pie or no coin. I maybe could buy shoes or blankets someday if I saved enough, but I don't know what I need the most. And if I spent all my coin, then I wouldn't have it if I needed something else more. And what if something bad happened, miss? What if you got sick and needed a doctor? Miss Mischief wouldn't pay. You ought to be worrying more about yourself than me, but I suppose it's very wise of you to save your money. Becky shook her head. I know what I'm worth, miss, and I know when I'm not good enough. I can't make decisions. I can't. That's why I can't spend nothing. I don't know what's right to do, and I don't want to be wrong. Suddenly, she clasped at Sara's hands. Thank you for the hydrate. You're the clever one, miss. You'll know what to do. You'll help me decide when the time's right, won't you? I'll try. Becky let out a sigh of relief. I'll bring you my tin to keep it safe. Truth be told, I'll sleep better with you having it. Sara's eyes sparkled. It will be like our buried treasure. And so, Becky's battered little tin, with its sparse sprinkling of small change, was fetched and remarked upon as if it were a coffer of rubies, then buried under Sara's bed. And Emily shall keep watch. That Saturday afternoon, Sara was assisting little Lottie with her schoolwork revisions. You must say your timetables over and over again every day, Lottie. It's very important. But they're boring. You must memorize them until you know them so well that you don't even have to think about the answers. They should always seem obvious, as if they were already written in front of you. You will need that in order to do more maths later. Oh, no, Sara. Don't bring math into this. I don't want it. I don't want to do more math, Sara, Mama. Hell yeah, Lottie. Rise up against the damn math. Rise up. Well, you don't want maths to be your mystical weakness, do you? Imagine if someone asks you, what is 3 times 12? And you're so confused that your brain sizzles. 36. And you're frozen in place, and you miss supper because you can't find the answer. 3 times 12? I don't know how to memorize 3 times 12, do I? Miss Minchin didn't say anything about 12. Not yet. Now, let me hear what you have been practicing. Lottie furrowed her brow and pursed her lips, but it seemed there was no escaping it. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. If Jimmy has 3 oranges in one hand and 5 oranges, what does Jimmy have? Is this a fucking trick question? Oh, okay. Oranges. It's a trick question. What does Jimmy have? Jimmy has oranges. As Sara coached Lottie through the simple mathematics drill, Becky came into the room on her cleaning rounds. She paused for a moment, listening to that shrill, childish voice reciting number after number, a look of confusion on her face. I really ought to give Becky help with maths too, if only we had more free time. 33! There! Now can we do something else? You never tell me stories anymore, Sara, Mama. Oh, okay. That's fair. I'm sorry. I'm only allowed to tell you about things that you were learning in your class. Lottie's cheeks puffed out in disapproval. Before she could begin to wail and fuss, Sara redirected the conversations. History is a kind of story. Have you been paying attention to your histories? What can you tell me about Henry VII? Lottie gulped, thrown off her sulk. He became king when he was a baby, and then got locked in the tower? Wasn't that Henry VI? She clapped her hands over her mouth in dismay at interrupting. Don't be shy, Becky. Come and sit with us. You're studying, too. She is? Everyone needs to know history. Come on, Becky. Let's see what you can remember. Tell us about Henry VII. Well, it were all part of the War of the Roses, I think. Both of them were, but the 6th started it, and the 7th ended it. Not sure who was in between, except it weren't Henry. That's right. Henry VII won his crown by winning the war. Why was it called the War of the Roses? Lottie's turn. They wore red and white roses to show which side they were on? They sat together on the long classroom benches, their heads occasionally bowing close to murmur some of the more interesting tidbits of ancient gossip and giggle, as school children often do. It might have been the sight that provoked Lavinia when she entered the room. What is going on? No, what is going on here? Oh, you filthy things! Hovering over a young lady like Lottie, you'll give her diseases. I'm back to being mega bitch. I mean, I was already a bitch in my route, but at least I could have maybe been better at the end. Here I'm just bitch again. Ew! Hush, there is nothing wrong. Why are you sitting down? Are you shirking? Miss Minchin wouldn't like to hear that. I'm sorry, miss. Don't move. She stood up, folded her arms, and glared at Lavinia in her best impression of a stern teacher. We are having weekend classes. Helping students with their schoolwork is one of my responsibilities, Miss Herbert. Miss Minchin wouldn't like to hear that you were interfering. Oh, if you're helping students, then what is that creature doing here? Becky is just as much as a student as any of the rest of us. She's helping me remember my kings. Helping, is she? Helping you right into horrible habits and dropped H's, I expect. She turned her glare back full force onto Becky. Get up and get away from that young lady right this instant. Step away from my woman. Yes, miss. Could you imagine the jealousy if they had interweaved? I don't like you. You are too close to Sara. Sara is mine and mine alone.
I don't like you. For some reason, I'm very attracted to Sara right now, and I can't explain why.
Yeah. Becky, don't. I have to go, miss. I'm sorry. She hurried out of the room, not looking back. That's better. At least the air in here won't smell quite so much. You must always be on your guard around people like that, Lottie. Check your pockets carefully. That one's a thief. She might have stolen your pennies. Lottie's eyes went wide and she patted her skirt nervously. Becky is not a thief. Breeding will tell. The dregs of society stay that way for a reason. You ought to know. You are the only dredge that I see here. At least Becky's trying to learn and improve herself. We shall see. Yeah. Lavinia being like bold of you for someone in kissing distance. I mean, wait, no. Lifting her nose, she flounced out of the room. Flounced out of it! Sara sat on her little bed, rubbing her hands together to try and make her fingers warm. It wouldn't be so bad if I had a nice pot of tea or cocoa to make me warm from the inside, or if there was a fire in the grate, or if I had a fur robe and a thick blanket, if I had anything at all. In the lengthening dark, the empty space of the attic pressed mercilessly around Sara. There are no monsters in the dark. Even little Lottie knows that there aren't. I am perfectly safe. I only wish. And then, as if in answer to her thoughts, a hollow knocking echoed through the walls. Becky! She hurried to the wall to signal her companion that it was all right to enter. Moments later, Becky hurried into Sara's room, a blanket wrapped around herself. It's starting to get chilly up here, miss. Come and sit on the bed with me, and we can cuddle together. With two little girls wrapped under two blankets, even thin ones, the attic soon felt much more cozy. I was just thinking that it would be nice in here if I had anything at all to keep me warm, and now I do. It's too bad these beds are so narrow. We could sleep here together. When I was little, miss, we had to share in beds like these, but I guess I'm not so little anymore. We can both fit snug and nice while we're awake, but if we slept like this, I think one of us would fall off. Do you think it would work if we got both beds and put them next to each other? Oh, I don't know, miss. Them bedsteads are heavy, and I don't know if they'd hold up being moved, and Miss Minchin might not like it. And you like having your own room. You said so. Yes, miss. But you're right. When full winter comes, we might want to. We could put just the mattresses on the floor together. They're easier to move than the bed frames. Oh, but then the rats would come up onto the bed. Becky shuddered. Sorry, miss, but even if they made us warmer, I don't want a blanket of rats. No, neither do I. Becky leaned her forlorn little head against Sara's shoulder and let out a slow, soft sigh. I'm sorry, miss. Whatever for? I came in to warm up, and I'm not very good company, and air scraped harshly through her nose as she breathed. And I feel like I'll never amount to nothing. Miss Lavinia was right. I don't belong around proper ladies. Lottie is not a proper lady. She's just a little girl. So are you. So am I. Oh wait, Lottie is not a proper lady. She's just a little girl. So are you. So am I. And Lavinia is a beast. She's a young lady. She's important to people. I'm not. I'm not worth any more than a handful of half shillings. Yes, you are. Of course you are. It's all just accidents. Tomorrow morning, Lavinia's family could disappear. She could end up just like me. There's no way to know. Perhaps one Sunday, Miss Minchin will be at church, and suddenly her heart will fill with warmth. She will come back to the seminary and want to be kind to everyone. Now I need a miracle, miss. Miracles happen. They happen all the time. They have to. Like on the road to Damascus. You remember that story, don't you? From your Bible classes? Becky nodded. It could happen. She could decide to make you a charity student, with your own bedroom downstairs with the other girls and nice dresses, and let you go to classes. Don't laugh, it could. Who would believe? Me, one of the girls downstairs. Even if she stays the same as ever, you don't have to be a scullery maid forever. You could be a parlor maid someday, or cook. Wouldn't you like to be cook in a nice warm kitchen? I bet cook never goes hungry. You see? It could get better. Everything changes. My position certainly did. Sara suddenly felt her fingers squeezed together by Becky's rough grip. Still a princess to me, miss. Always. The corners of Sara's mouth twitched uncontrollably upwards. What would you do, Becky, if a miracle happened? If you could do anything, absolutely anything that you wanted? If I had a wish from one of the lamps, you mean? Something like that, but without having to worry about the magic going wrong, or a witch with a curse. And not about your whole life changing. Just one thing. If you could do one thing, what would you want? Well, I always wanted to ride in one of them fancy carriages like the royals have, blue as the sky, and covered all over with gold and jewels, and lamps all around, and a team of white horses to pull it. Oh, that's lovely. Just like Cinderella. The carriage would take you to the palace, where you would dance with the prince. Miss, I don't know about that. Don't know how to dance. Don't want to. Not with a man. Definitely not with a man. Becky the Rat Queen! Yes! And yes, do give her a katana. I don't think she would know what to do with it. Just to see it all, that'd be enough for me, I'm sure. You will see it, and much more someday, I'm sure. The magic will make it happen. Sara lay across her bed, feeling too weak and sore even to lift her head. Why did Cook make us fill that basin up in the kitchen when she knew we couldn't lift it high enough to pour it out again? It would have been easier to take it to a pump. Her arms ached, her back ached, her head ached. The pain took precedence over every other sensation, even the cold. I wish Becky were here, but I can't get up to knock. Not now. And so, when the doorknob rattled and turned, Sara's first reaction was pleasure and relief. It was short-lived. Miss Minchin? She never comes up here. Do not move. Is something wrong? I said do not move. I won't have you hiding the evidence. Evidence of what? Theft! Miss Herbert has reported that certain valuable items have gone missing, and you are the most logical suspects. Lavinia. Miss, what's going... Oh! No sooner had Becky stepped into the doorway than Miss Minchin grabbed her arm and yanked her inside. Get over there with her, where I can see you. Neither of you is to move until this room has been searched. If I have to strip you, I will. Now move. Yes, Mum. She hurried to Sara's side, not even daring to whisper a question about what was going on. I've never stolen anything, and Becky wouldn't either. I know she wouldn't. This is just Lavinia trying to make trouble. It's cruel. There's not much to search in the garret, An old trunk in the corner was picked up through, then pushed aside when it proved to hold little more than napkins and rubbish. The table, the grate, the footstool, none of these provided many places for stolen treasure to hide. As for the bed, aha! She produced a battered tin which clanked and rattled as she lifted it. Oh no, Becky's half-shillings! Here we see the proof of these accusations. I am absolutely shocked at this behavior, Sara Crewe. Here I have given you a roof over your head and meaningful employment, and this is how you repay me? I am not a thief. Them's my wages, Mum. So, you would steal even from a fellow servant. I didn't steal anything. Please, Mum, I gave them to her. Miss Minchin scowled. The truth of the matter had to be apparent even to her, with the two girls so close. However, to admit it would mean admitting that she had been wrong. A gift? That seems unlikely. Why would a little drudge who had next to nothing give it away? Perhaps you are afraid to tell me the truth. No, Mum. Let me make things clear to you, girl. That one, she indicated Sara, who furrowed her brow and refused to shrink back, has no possessions other than what I have generously loaned to her. She has no right to any possessions. She is in my debt, deeply and undoubtedly. If she stole this money from you, then she will be turned over to the authorities for punishment, and the coins will be returned to you. If you gave her this money, then it belongs to me as payment towards her debts, and I will confiscate it at once. That's not fair. What should I do? I can't say I stole the money. I wouldn't steal, and I wouldn't lie. But if I don't, then Miss Minchin will take Becky's savings away. She didn't give it to me. I was keeping it safe for her. The money belongs to Becky. Do not speak unless you are spoken to. I'm not interested in excuses. There are only two possible outcomes here. Now, make up your mind. What is the truth? Was it a gift, or was it stolen? It is entirely your decision. Fuck you, Miss Minchin. Get hit by a truck. I fucking hate you. You're always bad, but this is... Becky shot a fearful glance at Sara. Look at me when I am speaking to you. You do not need her help to tell me the truth. Make your choice. It's a gift. Very well, then I thank you for your generosity. Before both their eyes, she tipped out the contents of the tin. The coins were few and not even shiny. A moment later, they disappeared into Miss Minchin's pocket. What would the church say to you if they knew what you had done? Don't speak impertinent nonsense. You are not above punishment. Remain here while I search the other room. After all, there are still reports of theft I must investigate. Yeah, Miss Minchin is, Sound of her heels clicked away in the... So she already refuses to pay Becky. Like, she barely pays Becky as is. And then she stole the money that she hadn't even given... Oh my god. Sound of her heels clicked away in the distance. Oh, Becky, your savings. It weren't nothing, miss. It were only a few coin. Nothing important. But it was all the treasure that you had. It was like the Bible story of the widow's two mites. Small theft is a very great one if you have so little to begin with. Becky wiped at her face. I couldn't let her take you away, miss. I can't live here without you. I can't. Oh, Becky, you are my treasure. Even after Miss Minchin had finished her inspection and departed, the two little prisoners huddled together. They had nothing else. In the afternoon, there was a knock upon the front door of Miss Minchin's Select Seminary, signaling that the post had arrived. Sara, who was nearest, laid aside her bucket and brush and went to fetch it. She was just stepping back through the door with a small box and a handful of letters when everything went wrong all at once. The yowl of a enraged feline, a series of thumps and bangs, someone falling, the scream of a young girl. Becky! Sara rushed at once to the stairs, discarding the deliveries on a small table as she passed, not even looking to see if they had landed correctly. There was Becky, collapsed against the wall, at the foot of the stairs like a doll that had been thrown away. And there was Tybalt, a furious gray streak, rushing straight past Sarah's legs and out the open door of the school. "No! Are you all right? Oh, miss!" Though the tears streaking her face surely indicated that she was in pain, Becky was already struggling to get back to her feet. "You're hurt. You shouldn't move. We've got to catch him. The missus will hang me by the ears if we don't. Please, miss, my life won't be worth nothing if we lose him." It was unfortunately true. Miss Minchin set more value on that cat than on the welfare of any scullery maid. Even if Becky had broken a leg in the fall, she would not be forgiven. There was no time for Sara to apologize for leaving the door open. To have any hope of recovering Tybalt, they had to act at once. Sara held out her hand to help Becky up. "Can you walk? If you can't, I'll go. I'm fine, miss. It's only bruises. I've had worse." They moved out onto the streets of London together. "There, a towel." She kept hold of Becky's hand in case the other girl was unsteady on her feet. "You should go back, miss. If the missus thinks we've run off, she might call the coppers. If it's only me, we'll both be punished no matter what happens. If we at least find Tybalt, it'll go easier for us, and we have a better chance if we're both looking." The task could have been much worse. A grey cat, loose in the streets of London, might have vanished entirely, never be seen again by any but the owners of disreputable pie shops. Tybalt, however, appeared to be playing a game, keeping always out of reach, but rarely out of sight. They wove their way from street to street, occasionally having to beg directions off kindly-looking adults who might have seen the grey cat go by. "Becky keeps wincing when she thinks I'm not looking. I'm sure she's hurt. I need to get her home. If only that cat would cooperate." "The church? There, he's gone inside. Are we allowed, miss? It's not a Sunday. God will understand. Perhaps the angels will guide us. My mother, my papa, and yours. I hope you're right, miss." The two little girls walked on their toes past the empty pews, their thin shoes making little more noise than a cat's paw. Becky caught Sara's arm and pointed to a staircase going up, just as Tybalt padded out of sight. The bell tower. Up and up and up they climbed. There was no sign of Tybalt, but neither were there any exits. He had to be somewhere ahead of them. Becky paused, her hand against the wall, her shoulders heaving. "Are you all right? Do you need to rest? I can do it. I can do it. We're almost there, ain't we? I hope so." At last they found the door and broke free into the sky. The tower top seemed a desolate place, bare stone walls cut into empty arches that began at waist height. There was no glass, since that would impede the sound of the bells. One could almost reach out and touch the clouds. "Hi, Phoenix, welcome in." This high up, on a clear day, the air was even colder than usual. After so many steps, Sara couldn't help gasping for breath, but that breath locked up in her throat. There was no sign of the tower keeper, nor of any angels, nor of Tybalt. Somehow, they had lost him. Sara's knees gave out. She slid down to sit on the cold floor, wheezing through her hands as she fought to recapture her strength. Becky didn't look any better. Her face was pale beneath the dirt, and she clutched at the window's edge for support. There, as she leaned over, she suddenly caught sight of... Miss, there!" "What?" She tried to answer, but the words weren't coming. "I can see him, miss. I can just about reach." Tybalt is out on the church roof? Becky, no, you're too weak." It was too late. Desperate to retrieve the lost cat, Becky had already begun to climb over the wall. "Here, puss, puss." And then the inevitable happened. She lost her balance. "Becky!" Sara would never clearly remember those seconds. How Becky screamed, how Sara leapt from her crouch, how her fingers stretched to the air and caught Becky's hand. "Hang on!" It wasn't enough. Sara was too weak, too thin. Her grip kept Becky from plummeting to certain death, but she could not possibly pull her up. "Lift your other arm! Try to grab the edge!" Becky flailed upwards, but her fingers fell far short of the mark. Hanging suspended by one arm put the rest of her body at too much of an angle to reach. "I can't!" "Oh, of course! Yay, thank you! Oh, and thank you for the host. You get some sleep. Grab anything! Brace your feet on anything! Just find a way to hold on!" Her feet in their thin shoes scrabbled against the stones, trying to find a toehold. For a moment, the strain on Sara's arms eased, and then Becky's foot slipped, and the sudden jolt made her socket burn with pain. I'm gonna die! Don't look down. Just hold on, Becky. Hold on. I'm gonna fall. You can't fall. I'm holding you. But miss, you can't. I won't let you fall. I promise. Now hold on, and don't be frightened. I'm gonna scream so that someone can hear us, alright? Don't be afraid. Miss. Sara squeezed her hands tight and shrieked as loudly as she could until her throat ached with the force of it. After all those weeks of being silent in an attic, she felt like her uncaged voice ought to burst loose like a blast of trumpets. But against the vastness of the sky, one little girl's voice was soon swallowed up. When her scream had faded into a raspy cough, Sara gulped hard and waited for a response. All she could hear was Becky's faint whimpering. She had stopped scrabbling against the wall with her feet now. She was only hanging there, quiet tears gleaming against the dirt on her cheeks. It's gonna be all right. The tower keeper will come. The angels will bring him to us. We're so high up, it's easy for them to see us here. You won't fall. I promised you, didn't I? I won't let go. Miss. It was hard to hear her voice now. There was no strength in it. You can't blame yourself. It's all right. What are you saying? You can't hold on forever, miss. I know that, and maybe it won't be so bad. There's heaven, right, miss? Like you always told us. Cities of gold and fields of lilies, and no mismention, and never having to work no more. Her arm, in Sara's grip, felt cold, as if life were already leaking away from her. My life was never gonna get better down here. So don't feel bad, miss, if you had to let go. I'll still love you. I'll watch over you with them angels. No! Now you listen to me, you're the most important thing in the world to me, and I will never, ever give up on you. What do you think my life would be like without you? If you slip and fall, I will jump after you. Miss, that's a mortal sin! And the angels had better hurry up and stop me. That's not proper Christian. I have fate. All of a sudden, Becky's weight shifted ever so slightly in Sara's arms. Her eyes went wide with panic, until she realized that Becky had turned her head to see. Tybalt! Completely unconcerned, as if he had nothing to do with the drama transpiring around him, the cat sauntered his way across the edge, hopped over, and curled up on the floor near Sara's feet. You see, there are miracles after all. It was not until much later that the two girls were able to return to Miss Minton's school. The man at the church who had finally pulled Becky to safety insisted on escorting the girls back. His presence was welcome, as both girls' arms were so sore and weak that they could not have safely contained Tybalt for the journey. At the door, they thanked their good Samaritan and sent him on his way, then shut the door firmly before depositing the cat back into its territory. There was no sign of Miss Minchin, no hubbub. They had not been missed at all. Becky could have died today, and no one here will know, or care if they did. It's not right. No one appreciates her as she deserves, except for me. No one loves her as they should, except for me. And then, as the realization struck her, she froze in place. I love Becky. More than as a friend. More than any princess loved her king. It felt selfish and prideful to place herself above others in that way, but in that moment Sara's heart was overflowing. But what can I do? What can I do? We are both prisoners here. We are helpless, and Miss Minchin will grind us down to nothing. No. No matter how bad it seems, life has to be better. It just has to be. Miracles happen. Good people still exist. I will always believe that. Yeah, so she didn't die. I can't remember if that was originally in the book, if she almost fell. But it is funny that they kind of gloss over it really quick. Like, no, it's very tragic. Just kidding, they were saved. But either way, Becky did not die. We're not going to have any sadness for these little lesbians today. There are no bad ends for the lesbians. Okay, week 36. It's Becky time! Sara sat on her bed, clutching at her shoulder. She had felt something inside of it stretch and pull in a way that muscle shouldn't earlier that day, and now every time she moved that arm too suddenly, a sharp pain interfered. There's nothing broken, it's only sore. If I have time to rest, I'm sure it will be all right. If I had a few days to rest, and a warm bed, and a good meal, if my papa were here. But I can't have any of those things ever again. She looked over at Emily's serene doll face and managed a faint smile. I'll just have to be thankful for what I do have. Isn't that right? There's you, and there's Becky, and as long as I have my little kingdom to defend, I am still a princess. That's what makes a princess, not being beautiful or owning heaps of jewels or getting your own way. A princess protects her people. She looked around at her little kingdom, the cold grate, the cracked wall, and his family of rats, the window where sometimes she could see the birds gather. If I were a fairy princess, I would summon up birds and have them weave a beautiful ball gown for Becky, and I would turn the rats into fine white horses to draw her carriage, just like Cinderella. We could spend Christmas riding around London in a magical carriage and scattering largesse to the orphans and the workhouse girls. It was a lovely, warm imagining, and it kept Sara quite distracted for some time, picturing the lights of the carriage and the sounds of wheels and hooves over cobblestone roads. Then, in an instant, she bolt upright. Another sound had intruded on her consciousness. It was not on the slates of the roof, but from the stairs below. It was Miss Minchin's voice, and she was angry. She's scolding Becky. She's making her cry. Miss Minchin was almost never willing to exert herself and climb the last flight of stairs, only when she had some vicious purpose, as when she had come to accuse Sara of theft. But now she was angry enough to be coming at least part of the way up. It sounded as if she were driving Becky before her. You impudent, dishonest child! Cook tells me she has missed things repeatedly. 'Twa'n't me, Mum. I wasn't hungry enough, but 'twa'n't me never. I was hungry enough, but 'twa'n't me never. You deserve to be sent to prison, picking and stealing, half a meat pie indeed. 'Twa'n't me. I could have eaten a whole one, but I never laid a finger on it. Sara cringed at the distant sound of a slap and a body bumping into the wall. Don't tell falsehoods. She wouldn't. Sara stood in the middle of the room in the darkness. She was clenching her little teeth and opening and shutting fiercely her outstretched hands. Now go to your room this instant. Sara heard Becky run in her slipshod shoes up the stairs and into her attic. She heard her door shut, and she knew that she threw herself upon her bed to cry into her pillow. I could have had 2 of them, and I never took a bite. Just cook give it to a policeman. It was too much. Sara could no longer stand still and bear it. She burst out of the room and tore down the stairs, barely able to keep her balance to face Miss Minchin. You wicked, cruel thing! Cook takes things herself and then says Becky steals them. She doesn't! She doesn't! Do you dare to criticize your betters? You are no one's betters! It is you who are the thieves, Cook and you both! You stole Becky's wages, you knew how little she had, and you stole it anyway! Becky nearly died trying to save your cat just to please you, and you never thank her for anything, and she's so hungry sometimes that she eats crust out of the ash barrel. Such impudence! Well, it is only to be expected. With a sinking heart, Sara realized that her righteous tirade had failed to thaw Miss Minchin's heart at all. If anything, it had hardened it. She had lost her temper, abandoned the composure which had given her strength through her trials, and now her enemy was smiling. I have been too lenient with you girls, in light of your youth. Clearly, more discipline is required. You will go to your room, Sara, and you will stay there. Neither you nor Becky will have anything to eat tonight, or tomorrow either. Perhaps that will make some impression upon you. Being angry only acknowledges her power over us. So, Sara squeezed her hands into fists, but did not raise them. She spoke in a voice that was only slightly trembling. Yes, ma'am. Now, Sara. Yes, ma'am. She turned. Step by step in the darkness, alone, she climbed the attic stairs. There was no friendly voice waiting for her in her room, only the soft echo of Becky's sobs. I can't protect anyone. She reached for her pillow, then bit her lip as pain flared inside her shoulder. I'm useless. Carefully, she lay her thin body down upon the bed. I'm not a princess at all. We're finally here. It's the final epilogue. I will have a new life. Finale. There was a great bustling around the front of Miss Minchin's Select Seminary, as all of Sara's belongings were removed and carried out to the house next door. The proprietress herself could do nothing but stand and fume, to have had such a chance and let it slip from her fingers. The girls were abuzz with whispers and rumors. Those who had been friends, like kind, dependable Ermengarde, came forward to wish Sara good fortune on her travels. Others hid themselves away in shame at their own past behavior, or charging for not keeping up a connection which might now prove to be valuable. Far above, in the little attic room, the cheer was lessened. Once all the new treasures were stripped and boxed and toted away, there was nothing left but the bare skeleton, cold and soulless as it had been before Sara's exile to the Gator. All the magic was gone. Becky walked over to the iron bedstead that had once been Sara's and laid her hand upon the mattress. Miss Minchin had insisted that Becky's second mattress be returned to the other attic to make the room suitable for habitation again. She could find another such maid. There was no way for Becky to refuse. The mattress belonged to Miss Minchin after all. Everything did. Becky? Oh, Miss! As Sara and all her finery walked into the dingy little attic, Becky awkwardly adjusted the kerchief on her head. Good afternoon, miss. Isn't there anything you wanted to say to me? Well, miss, I'm happy for you, I am. It's the best thing that could have happened. You deserve good things. Maybe now you'll go back to India, like you wanted. Maybe you can meet the monkey's family in the jungle where it's warm and full of coconuts. Oh, Becky, you silly, precious thing. Sara caught up Becky's hand in her own. Isn't there something else you wanted to tell me? Something you wanted to ask me? Don't know what you mean, miss. Didn't we make a promise to each other? Long ago? I'm not keeping any secrets, not that. Didn't we promise always to tell each other if we were in trouble? If there was something we needed? I'll have a new home now. I'll be leaving this school. Maybe I'll find a new one. Maybe we'll travel. But isn't there something you need? I just need you to be happy, miss. Oh, Becky, can't you ask for anything for yourself? Wouldn't be right, miss. Then I will do it for you. Before Becky's widening eyes, Sara knelt on the bare attic floor, still clasping the other girl's hand in hers. Will you do the honor of coming with me and sharing my life forever? You have to say yes or no, Becky. I want to give you everything, but only if it's what you want. Oh, miss, that still isn't an answer. You'll really take me with you and let me be your maid? I don't want you to be my maid. I want you to be my partner, to share in my fortunes, just like Mr. Carrisford and my papa did. You deserve a happy ending just as much as I do. We are both the same, you and I. Don't you see? You mean I won't have to work no more if I don't want to? You'll take care of me? I want to do more than protect you. I want to make you a princess. And ride in a carriage and all? We shall travel among the populace and bring gifts, just like Father Christmas. Oh, miss. And if you keep calling me miss, I'm gonna have to call you the same in return. Becky, I love you. Now please, won't you say what you want? Will you come? I'd go anywhere with you, miss. Sara. Yes. Sara leapt to her feet and hugged her. You see, the magic helped me to keep my promises. Now we need a new promise, to live happily ever after. Guys, we did it. We got to the end. I want to thank you all so much for being with me on all these journeys, on all these stories, on all these paths. I'm glad that we ended with Becky. because Becky was really good to end on. We never have to see her again. We never have to see her again. I'm not crying, you're crying. I do love that no matter what route Sara does take Becky. In this one, it's definitely more romantic, but even in the original book, she took Becky. Becky got to lead and be with her as like a friend. And even in every other girl's route, Becky still gets to come to live with Sara and not have to deal with this, so I'm glad we get to see that progression. It's so sweet. Becky was so good. She was too sweet. She deserved all the love when she wasn't thinking of herself. I was like, Becky, please. She's my... Oh, God. I can't... She's your favorite now? Okay. I'm still not sure if I... Because Ermengarde was the first character I ever chose. So I really like that. But I also really like Jessie. But I also really like Becky. I'll have to think harder about it. But... Mabel's like, I like Becky because Sara yells at Miss Minchin. Which, fair. Oh... We did it. We got to the end, guys. Thank you so much for being on this journey. Oh, God. It, like, right at the end, I would have lost my shit. Yeah. And then if we go here, we can see all the cute little art. All the art we got from the story. All the girls together. And now we can count how many Ermengarde gets a kiss. It's a chibi kiss, but she gets a kiss. Lavinia gets a hug.
She deserves a punch.
This is the Jessie arc. Jessie only gets 2, but I will say Jessie has some of the most beautiful art. Like, oh my gosh, that one is one of my favorites. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then she gets a kiss. She just gets a full-on kiss. Full-on drawn kiss. Which, damn, lucky. But she is very beautiful. And it's very sweet. Lottie gets a hug. You know, or just a little sleepy time. But yeah, she gets a hug. So Lottie gets 2. A nice little comfort hug. Lavinia gets 3, but like 1 is like weirdly only the top head of Sara. So you get Lavinia crying and angry cry, and then Lavinia doing the what is it? The hands up against the wall, kabudan. Is that the right word? Doing a kabudan. So she gets 3, and including, so 1, 2, 3, and then the romantic one at the end of the bonus is 4. The fuck? Ermengarde gets 3, and she deserves it because they were really cute. Mariette gets 2, just to comfort. Again, very platonic. Little forehead kiss because everything's okay. And Becky only gets 2. What the fuck? Why wasn't the bonus Becky? Why was Lavinia's the one that got the Becky should have got the bonus. I would have accepted Ermengarde. I would have accepted Jessie. Becky deserved that bonus. No, instead it's Lavinia. Anyway. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. This is where I'm gonna end it. I want to thank you so much for chilling with me. I'm gonna send you on a Let's see. What should I send you to? Thank you. I'm gonna send you to... Oh, I don't know if I can... So, he's already kind of popular. He's not like a friend. He's just a YouTuber I like to watch, Space Hamster. But he's doing Monster Rancher, so... Hell, if I could send him, that'd be awesome. I don't know if I can. He might be too... Oh, I hope it's not... Wonder if it'll let me. Yeah, it will. Okay. So, he's playing Monster Rancher. Again, he's a really... if you know him, he's on YouTube. He's really popular, but he's chill and cool. So thank you guys so much. And, I love you all so very much. I can't wait to play a new game with you. Because now we can move on to other games and stuff. And this has been great. I'm glad I got to share one of my favorite games with you. So, I'll see you all next time. You have a great night, and I hope your holidays are wonderful. Alright. Bye bye.